going to start with a confession. We've had 6 really interesting talks, some by people who love regulation, some by people who hate regulation. I'm a regulatory lawyer, and I'm having some difficulty explaining what regulation is. I've been asked by various regulators, we want you to create a brilliant regulatory platform. We're going to be a crypto hub. Brilliant. Blank piece of paper out, no idea what to write. I've been advising on crypto before regulation came in. At that point, crypto firms were terrified about doing the wrong thing, fraud, and they wanted it right. Not all of them, there are lots of scams, I'm not pretending otherwise, but just because there's no regulation doesn't mean there's no laws. There's consumer law, there's fraud law, there's all the rest of it. So regulation is not law. As far as I can see, regulation means that some poor sod of a regulator has now got responsibility for you, and if it goes wrong, everyone's going to shout at them. And they're going to shout at them for not allowing enough innovation, or too much innovation, consumer harm. And so we look at these regulators, and these regulators are what we call human beings. And the point of human beings is they're biased. Let me give an example. Who here has bought shares? Put your hands up if you bought shares in a company. We all love shares. We've got junior ISAs. We let children buy shares. Keep your hand up if you know what a share is. Because it's not ownership rights in the company, because you don't own any aspect of the company. It's not voting rights in the company, because there's non-voting shares. It's not the rights to a dividend. Shares are a right to a percentage of the proceeds of a company in the event of its liquidation. Welcome to the world's worst sale for an investment. How many times will your investment manager go, we're going to buy you something, where if the company goes fut, you might get a couple of % of the proceeds, if you're lucky. Yet we all think shares are good, and that's because we've got an inherent bias, right? We have an inherent bias that we understand what it is, we know what we're doing, they're somehow a good thing. Now, we've got regulators. Regulators all want to do this good thing, but they're biased. So let's go completely global for a moment. We're going to take Europe. Europe loves individuals. We have GDPR, we have data protection, we have consumer protection. These are all the things we have been talking about. In the US, corporates. The corporate is in control. Corporate generates and drives the economy. China, state. The state makes decisions on behalf of all the people in the country. Each regulator in each country comes with a different bias given by its own background and how people in that country see the world. We then come up against blockchain technology. Blockchain is intrinsically decentralized. It goes across all these barriers, which is an absolute nightmare, given that no one knows what is good anymore. But it's also an amazingly good PR opportunity. Let's go back to shares, because I think shares are meaningless. 1720, probably a good year for beer, shares were banned in the UK because we didn't know what they were, we didn't know how they traded, we thought there was consumer harm, most of the companies didn't exist. There's something called the South Sea Bubble. And this meant that if you wanted to have a company in the UK, you need to get a special charter from Parliament to let you do it because of the potential for harm. Years later, all that has to be undone. Shares are the next big thing. It's the economy. We're moving forward. Now, you've got the same issue with crypto. It's coming in. The immediate knee-jerk response is we don't understand it. You've got crypto people running around going, we're going to do DeFi, we're going to do stable coins, we're going to do staking. Pick a complicated work, throw it at regulators, see how they jump. But at the end of the day, they're human beings, so it's about PR. And PR is what crypto hasn't always been great at. We can tell people, we do not want to deal with regulators. Fine, no problem there. So when is a regulator going to deal with you? Well, probably when it goes wrong. So they walk into your life and they go, this has all gone wrong, and you're telling us it's all fine. Not a great start of a 10. Whereas if you talk to the regulator, then you can get further from it. And by regulator here, I don't just mean the FCA or the GFSA or whoever. I also mean soft regulators, banks, administrators, depositories, custodians. These people all regulate. What I mean by that, if you want to be a crypto firm and you want to exist, you need to have a bank account in which to put all the cash. If no bank will give you a bank account, that's the end of that. That is a form of regulation. Now look at it from the bank's perspective. You come in with a wizzo idea, and you've got this compliance guy looking at this and going, yeah. And they're going to be nervous at the same time. The worst I ever saw was a bank who refused to give a bank account to a company because it had the word fintech in the title. The most fintech thing the company did was use a Microsoft Word document. That was their fintech innovation, as they like Microsoft Word. And they managed to present it in such a convoluted way that they terrified the bank compliance people, who just ran away, refused to speak to them, and they couldn't get a bank account open. And I was brought in as the magical lawyer to talk people around in a sort of special way. And you're sitting there going, this is the world's most boring company trying to get the world's most boring bank account. And why am I here? This brings me to the next thing, which I think is going to be a big development worldwide. Fintech companies all need clients. They all need access. The fastest way to get access is to become the outsourced provider for someone or to work with a big institution. You might hate them, but they're big because they've got lots of clients. So they're going to have to understand you. And I think the next big area in this area is going to be, forget KYC, it's going to be KYT, know your tech. And again, the big question is to what extent do we need to know? Because we talk about educating regulators, educating the public. That's great, but they don't really understand shares. So what sort of understanding is needed? Now, you buy a car, doesn't mean you can make a car from scratch. You know when the engine's on fire, you've got a problem, that level of understanding, but you don't know how to do it from scratch. The first question is, to what extent does the crypto community need to educate people in the sector? The second thing is flicking it straight back around. The entire emphasis of all the conversations today has been, should crypto be brought in line with financial institutions which are already regulated? What about, should financial institutions which are already regulated be brought in line with crypto? Let me give you an example. Lehman Brothers. Lehman Brothers did not go bust because it ran out of money. Lehman Brothers went bust because people no longer believed that as a bank they could trust it to meet its debts and obligations they fell due. Okay, what if we required each of the banks to hold their capital reserve amounts transparently on a blockchain? Maybe we should say only the regulators can see it. If we had done that, then the regulators could have come out over Lehman Brothers and gone, don't worry about Lehman Brothers, those four institutions are fine, we've checked the capital records, we know straight away it's all held on chain. We know that those ones are going to go bust, we're going to do that in a solvent way. Lehman Brothers may not have gone bust if it had held its assets on chain, and that's quite a sobering thought. The next big one is AML. One of the great points here was the total inability of the existing financial system to deal with AML. And I've seen some great examples of crypto firms come up with innovative solutions. But in order for that to happen, people have to trust those solutions to work. So I was involved in one transaction where we were literally moving an asset from company A to company B. We had 4 rounds of KYC and AML checks. No one in the system trusted any other person. If you come to me, I'm a lawyer, I have to do KYC and AML on you. You have to give me your passport. Why? Why should I have your passport? The ability of the crypto community to create solutions for this, for example, holding the relevant data in a vault and just give me a yay or nay as a client, is far better than what we have in practice. But you won't get that until you get the regulators on side. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, the regulators are human beings. I haven't got a lot of time, so I'm going to finish one other last thought, which is the law of unintended consequences. Because again, you know, people are very keen on saying, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. Nigeria, interesting place. The Nigerian put together an ad campaign saying to the Nigerian population that crypto was high risk, volatile, careful chaps. The Naira, at the same time, devalued 24% that year, whilst Bitcoin went up 10 times. At which point, a record number of people in Nigeria opened up Bitcoin wallets thinking, bloody hell, I could have been having this, and I've got that, and it's gone down 24%. What? And so an ad campaign designed to put people off crypto, make them aware of the dangers of it, to the unintended consequences of bringing more people into it. We're getting the same again with negative interest rates. If you want to meet all buffers, speak to the partnership of a law firm. Not one of them would touch crypto with a barge pole until someone said negative interest rates, at which point it was, sign me up, I'm in, I don't care about the risks, I'm there, we're going to go that way. So when you're talking about regulation of things, it's a meaningless word. It doesn't exist. It's law, effectively, which you created and bespoke. What you're saying is you're going to have responsibility by a regulator, who is a human being. So before you say what you do or do not, or what you want from them, think through what are the consequences of that, because once these things get created, they tend to be set in stone. Lastly, I just want to make one final point, which actually, the laws aren't that important anyway, because at the end of the day, bluntly, if it gets hacked, or if the code goes down, there is no crypto. Good luck fighting over that in the law courts. So, at the end of the day, do not bull watch the law and regulation of this to the effect of not looking properly at security, stopping hacking, and making sure the thing works. Because at the end of the day, regulators are human beings, and if you've tried to explain what you've done, and you've been honest about it, and you've tried to move it forwards, they'll have a lot more sympathy. And I'm just going to leave you with the two, which is my favorite bit, which is two different projects I had given to me in the same week. Project one. I'm a DeFi project. I want to sell derivatives in weird crypto assets you've never heard of to 8-year-old boys over video games using a DeFi strategy, and therefore I'm totally unregulated. Can you just knot together a quick legal opinion, say that's all okay? The other side, we've seen a real issue in the financial markets. We want robustness, we want stability. We think with DeFi we can do that. This is the plan. We think it's going to lead to a dawn of a new era where things are more secure. Of those two pictures, if you're the regulator, how are you going to react? And bear in mind, for every one of the latter, they're probably getting 5 or 6 of the former. Thank you.